was when that director was in charge of it.
On mid-October. Yeah.
Well,
All right, call the meeting to order. We have professional meeting. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moment of silence, please. Thank you. Have a seat. Roll call.
Karlovich,
Here.
Reichner,
Here.
Reis,
Here.
Brosious,
Here.
Eister.
Here.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of September 14, 2020 and September 28, 2020, and the reports of the fire department, police department, treasurer, engineer, code office, and planning commission. Do I have a second?
Reichner,
Yes.
Reis,
Yes.
Brosious,
Yes.
Eister,
Yes.
Karlovich.
Yes. Councilman Reagan.
Excuse me, you forgot public comment on agenda items.
Is there any public comment on agenda items only?
I have one pre-submitted public comment from Mr. Alan Bub regarding the 10th Street Bridge. He commented that it is an antique with unique construction that should be preserved, possibly designated as a historic site.
Thank you, Alan.
Can't be kicked off the net, can you, Jimmy?
Are we good for the comments?
No others have come up.
All right. Do we have it? Here's a good question. Do we have anybody, how many people are on Zoom Live and the Facebook Live right
I have 5.
now? Okay. Moving along. Councilman Reichner, invoices.
Yeah, I'm looking for, I'm going to motion that we pay, general fund of $238,684.39 and liquid fuels of $1,116.68. I make a motion that we pay those bills. Second.
Reis,
Yes.
Brosious,
Yes.
Eister,
Yes.
Karlovich,
Yes.
Reichner.
Yes.
Tax exoneration.
We have 5 applicants for tax exoneration totaling $131.59. Reason they are deceased. So I make a motion that we accept the exonerations.
Second.
Brosious,
Yes.
Eister,
Yes.
Karlovich.
Yes.
Reichner,
Yes.
Reis.
Yes.
Councilman Brosious, Reagan Street, please.
I'm gonna direct this over to Steve just to explain what's going on with the Reagan Street project and where we're at and what we're gonna do with it.
Okay, for Reagan Street, we had our bids come in. Our bids came in approximately 30% higher than what we were anticipating. After speaking with all the contractors that bid it, it became apparent that we had some issues out there. There were some real cost drivers. One of them is the boring underneath Front Street, and as well as the staging of everything. PennDOT was keeping us away from open cutting Front Street, and they also were holding us to 5 stages coming down through there. We've spoken with PennDOT. They are going to permit us to open cut on Front Street for a duration of 7 days. And we are going to reject all bids so that we can rebid the job, adding additional maintenance, protection, and traffic, which would change around how we do our staging. So it would have a longer area to work in, making it a more effective and more efficient manner in which they do it. And also with the open cut, it'll be substantially cheaper than doing the bore underneath Front Street.
Any questions, anyone else? Real quick, will rejecting mess with any grant money?
That's going to be all we would do is they can go back to the grant funding source and update the new design.
Okay.
So once you change the scope,
yep.
Okay, we have to reject and then redesign and re-advertise.
I guess what I was gonna say, so what we originally had budgeted for the project and now having to redesign it, the costs of lead time doing that take us where we need more funding than we originally got.
There'll be well, for the design work.
Yeah, because now we're paying for double the design work essentially, right?
No,
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 It's not gonna charge
no,
us
it's
all
not
that.
gonna be double the design. It's not remaking the entire project.
it's just the Front Street
It
section.
is mainly just redesigning the front street. And then we're gonna take some of the existing items that we have, put them in as alternates, and that way, if we have the funding, we can go for them. If we don't, we won't. So that's the concept behind that.
So in the meantime, what we will owe him, will that just come from liquid fuels to cover that, or will that come from?
For the additional redesign,
Yeah,
it's gonna have to.
yeah, okay. Just curious.
Like Steve said, it's
You'll save it one. Well,
it's minimal because he's only referring to Front Street.
and overall cost savings, if you're 30% over, you're expecting it to be back down. that next year.
Substantial savings. compared to
Hundreds
where
of
we were.
thousands of dollars.
Yeah, I mean, we're hoping to save quite a bit by doing it this way. And a minimal amount of re-engineering, he doesn't have to come out and take any new shots, he doesn't have, so there's no transportation fees coming up and back. It'll be minimal cost to
It will
redesign.
lessen the quality of the long-term effect of this project, right?
Absolutely not. No, it's just a different method of construction and a different timing of the MPT of the project. So instead of doing it every single block, we're going to incorporate more blocks. So there should be basically 2 phases. There'll be a phase 1, a phase 1A, and then the second phase. It really should make it more efficient.
The other thing you did is you pulled out the streetscape part of the project and are applying for separate funding for that.
For what, I mean, there's some sidewalks, I mean, we have to do the ADA ramps, so that all has to
No,
be
we already,
done.
we
Yeah.
just submitted the application to
Yes, correct.
DCED multimodal, the 1.5 million for Reagan Street streetscape project.
And what that's gonna allow us to do is not only we're gonna be able to do more sidewalks and additionally looking at lights and other things for the streetscape side. We're hoping we don't have to, we're hoping that it falls within the budget of the initial project.
The money that we gave 2 years ago from CFO, from the block grant money towards Reagan Street project, with the project being that pushed back a year, is that going to be in jeopardy of our 3-year limit of using that towards the project finishing? Or do we need to reallocate that money to something else in the interim and then reallocate next year's money back into Reagan Street?
I think we're still good.
We're still good? Can we just double check that for the next meeting, just to make sure? Because if we have
I
to
can tell you
reallocate,
right now.
we want to make sure we do it in time, so that we don't lose that money.
The 2018 CDBG money that was applied to this project. The award dates are. Let me get it real quick. December of 18 to December of 22. So the money would have to be obligated, spent by December of
Plenty
22.
of time, yeah, okay, great. So I mean, we're good.
Any other questions? All right, Councilman Eister, would you do voting on the different phases?
Yes, sir. First thing I'm gonna do is make a motion to reject all bids.
Second.
Karlovich,
Yes.
Reichner,
Yes.
Reis.
Yes.
Brosious.
Yes.
Eister.
Yes. Next thing I'm gonna do is make a motion to take and allow CES Engineering to redesign the Front Street. To be additional costs is what we're talking about here. Give them authorization to do that.
Second.
Thank you.
Reichner,
Yes.
Reis.
Yes.
Brosious.
Yes.
Eister.
Yes.
Karlovich.
Yes.
We'll make a motion for the MTP plans. Of course, that's just Lee's gonna be redesigning, make a motion, to redesign them, and of course, turn those in.
Second.
Reis.
Yes.
Brosious.
Yes.
Eister.
Yes.
Karlovich.
Yes.
Reichner.
Yes.
And Lee had mentioned about, I'm not sure exactly, we'll make a motion about changing the phases of the project for Reagan Street.
Second.
Thank you.
Does that have to be clear through DC, or through CFO for the phasing? Because of how we got the money from them, $1 million?
Now, Lee didn't go in details, but he broke it all out, the motions that had to be made.
Okay, so he's checked with them already on that? to make
He's
sure?
one,
Okay.
set this up. Okay?
Just don't want to screw up anyone.
No,
Okay. Brosious.
Yes.
Eister.
yes.
Karlovich.
Yes.
Reichner.
Yes.
Reis.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not- I was reading here.
Chief Hare regarding Officer Ketchem.
Officer Terry Ketchem has completed his year probation last week. He's been a great asset to the city of Sunbury, and I'm recommending that he be retained as a full-time officer.
We'll make a motion to retain Officer Terry Ketchem on a full-time basis.
Second.
Eister,
Yes.
Karlovich,
Yes.
Reis,
Yes.
Reichner,
Yes.
Brosious.
Yes.
Chief Hare, the light scan.
I mentioned this before a few months back. We've been working with Northumberland County Emergency Services. The live scan that we currently have, we have what they call a switch to the Pennsylvania State Police. We are going with an MOU with the county. Basically, all it is we're just essentially tapping into their switch. It's going to save us about probably $3,500 a year cost. So it's a cost savings for us. All the work's just about done. We still have another bill to pay to the state, but that was something I explained before, where the state was not charging us for the last 10 to 15 years, and they finally caught up, and they're not going back and asking us for the back money, but we have to pay a certain fee this year, so it's going to be a little cost this year, but then going forward, there's going to be a substantial cost savings going forward. And it's for our live scan is our fingerprint system, our clean terminal, stuff we use on a regular basis.
Make a motion to accept this.
Second. Second.
Brosious,
Yes.
Eister,
Yes.
Karlovich.
Yes.
Reichner,
Yes.
Reis,
Ms. Lockett?
Yes. So this is the first reading for bill number 2020-18, special events. This is going to repeal and replace the ordinance number 1168, which was adopted in November of '92, and it's codified in section 163. That's the vehicles and traffic ordinance of our city code. And that part of it pertains to the regulation of traffic and parking in the conduct of a parade, procession, or public event. This ordinance will define a special event, as you see there on the slide, as an event or assemblage of people, including but not limited to music festivals, concerts, dancers, circuses, carnivals, arts and craft shows, parades, public assemblies, demonstrations, performances, exhibitions, community events, block parties. Special events shall specifically not include funeral processions unless they are out of the ordinary. Anything that would be partially or totally on public properties. A permit shall be required. There is an application that must be submitted 60 days in advance of the event. There are exceptions to that. If there's something that has come up, there can be an exception to that 60 days. And there is a fee for the application, but waiver of fees can be requested by submitting a letter to council. The application may also require a certificate of insurance. In fact, they all require a certificate of insurance. Application for private use of a public facility, and also they may need an application for road closure. We've also put in there the ability to charge additional fees just to cover the city's costs associated with supporting of the event. For instance, if they need us to come and do the trash management, if they need us to provide tents, then those kinds of things may be charged as extra. But again, waiver of any and all fees can be requested by submitting a letter to council. This would provide us, then the city would have a standard process for people to submit an application, for that application to be coordinated among the affected departments, including Parks and Rec, streets, the police department, fire department if necessary, so that we have on occasion had last minute, oh, we're having this event, oh, we have to get, these things put over there, we need support from so-and-so, we hadn't come up at the last minute. So hopefully this will form the foundation to standardize that process so that things go more smoothly.
So who approves and denies the permits?
The application is submitted to the city clerk's office,
And who approves it?
and then it's a coordination among all those departments. So all those departments have to see it and okay it for it to be approved overall.
So they can say no for any reason? Doesn't that open us up to opposite political affiliation, opposite belief? you all of a sudden don't like the event that's happening, everyone says no, that person sues the city.
I mean, if that does happen, I mean, not to be rude to anyone, like, don't we kind of deserve that then? Like, if we say, if we put our own personal beliefs, I mean, we get what you deserve at that point. I'm just
So would you
asking-
like to see something in there that has, something about disapproval and,
Right now, the way it works is you can, as long as you live in the city of Sudbury, you can reserve a park space for free, and you just have to fill out the form and say what you're doing. There's no approval, there's no denial. And if you didn't need city services, you could just use the park. So I know multiple organizations that have used it for that. I just worry about for nonprofits and things like that, and I get you can request waiver of the fee, but adding in fees potential, even for events, so like, what decides what charge we charge for trash pickup, and what events get charged for trash pickup, and which ones don't, and, you know, that's what worries me, because now.
so when we would set up a fee schedule and, we can kind of itemize those things. It was the intent, is to be able to itemize those things that we have been asked for support to be provided in the past. And try to itemize those things so that, again, we don't get to the last minute and surprise and, oh my gosh, we need this from the city or that from the city.
Yeah, I guess I don't personally like the part of fees, so that's just me.
So I have a question as well. Is this only for events that are open to the general public that they're hosting? Or is this for, hey, I'm hosting a small birthday party in Cameron Park just for my family to celebrate the kid? Because the way I'm reading this, it seems like anything that has to do with people. assembling.
I thought that this was on city property.
And it is on city property.
But our city property is utilized for private small events such as birthday,
Yeah.
weddings.
Well,
Right now, all you gotta do is just sign a form saying, you know, that you live in the city.
Oh, yes.
What was that?
For trash removal. Matter of fact, we have a situation coming up, Alex, next year, correct? Next year, this 9/11, a wedding down on the river. Meeting with the gentleman Friday morning at 9 o'clock. That's where we'll be going over, because it's gonna be an all-day event. And, they wanted, about the access down there to take food and stuff down by vehicle and so forth. So we're gonna have a meeting with him, write down everything he's requesting, write back with a charge. And, you are right, we have to go up with a charge. Now, what I was gonna suggest to the gentleman, not knowing how much trash he's gonna have, what we would do, okay, and it's kind of listed because of the billing him after the fact. After we clean up, there's so many man hours, we give him a fee for that. And then, of course, take the trash down to the transfer station, weigh it, get the bill, pay the bill, then we go back and charge him whatever the fee.
Or you do the opposite, you just have to pay to put a dumpster down there. That's what we do for wine and brew, and it's also good.
True, providing they clean up, so that's why we're having a meeting with them.
My thing for the public event, so we talked about last meeting on the agenda tonight about potentially like an event organizer and things like that. If we're charging, so any of our nonprofit events, hold public events where, yes, we have to go back and, you know, you guys have to pick up trash, we have to get it ready, mow the grass, things like that. But that's not money that we're charging an event coordinator to plan and do. It's a nonprofit group organizing that. To me, putting the option on there, potentially charging them fees, I don't like it, right?
Well, your policy can be that if it's a nonprofit event, that you don't charge the fee.
Or an event open to the public.
I'm sorry?
An event open to the public. To
Mhm.
me, I would put
Now,
that.
the only question I have is, I'm a business person, I come here to run an event open to the public, but I'm making money off of it.
But again, we just said we want more events, more things to do for people.
But at that point, we're not making, it's costing us money to clean up their mess that they made money. On our end, if we do it on our end, we made the money, therefore we don't have to charge our own people to do it, we made money to cover that charge.
It's a fine line. maybe,
Well,
but-
you're right, Chris,
Yeah.
it is fine line. The problem is, some taxpayers will sit back and say, you took my tax dollar and cleaned up this mess after you filled his pockets.
Sure.
And the key words there, additional fees may be assessed.
But who decides that? I guess that's the thing that I have with it, and I think this is a good idea, don't get me wrong. I just worry that it's,
I think that can be decided when the fee schedule is set up. Like she said, I think it can be decided then And it could be, because the sticky situation as I see it, is we go to charge Brad, we ain't gonna charge Steve. And they have two same events there.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's the
we
problem.
gotta be consistent in what we do. But as far as that ordinance goes, additional fees may be assessed. I think that makes that ordinance okay. It's not saying they will be.
Well, what, instead of charging for the event itself, why don't you just charge for the cleanup fee and whatever that, there were the host is still technically free, but if you need us to clean up the trash and it's fair, everybody across the board.
Well, here again, depends what happened, how it came apart and clean trash up. We've been using water, which is another thing, and using electricity. Where does it stop?
Well, I mean, if you're using electricity, obviously that's part of the, but I mean,
But there's no fee. Now what we do?
But
What's
it's,
the difference
it's, but it's
between
that,
down here and using Craigie's Gardens and charging Craigie's Gardens? I mean, having a fee, that's what you built this thing for, to be used to make money off of it, wasn't it? I mean, I've been fighting this argument for years, that we
Well,
don't down there not to make money.
I
we
mean,
should not have built it for park to make money. The city should not be in the business of making money on that kind of stuff, in my opinion.
Well, it's not the funniest fee, you know, and that's how we survive by fees, that's how we keep our taxes down, correct?
Well, let's be clear that the city is not making a profit. What it is that it's open to the public. Our parks are free and open to the public. But if somebody wants to use it for their own special event, for their own private use, that's different.
Yes.
Or when an organization wants to exclusively use it for their event, then they're getting special use, special consideration that not everybody is gonna be able to participate in. So that's why, again, it's not a moneymaker, it's not a for-profit thing, but when somebody is getting special use, we should get our costs covered. So if it costs manpower hours, if it costs us to throw away the stuff at the transfer station, if it costs us for electricity, the municipality is able to cover those costs by charging a fee.
So what about majority of the use of these properties are family gatherings using?
That
food,
isn't included. So this is an event or assemblage of people.
But it would be an assembly of people, I have 20 people in my family gathered, I can start using 3, 4.
don't they still get charged a fee to use it, like when people have weddings down at Hyphens, they don't get charged a fee?
Yes, Headings is different. I don't think anywhere else is.
Okay, so if they wanna have a wedding in the park, but I mean,
The amphitheater and Titans and the.
For weddings.
Yeah.
But I don't think if somebody's going downtown, they just wanna have like a cake and ice cream
oh,
out
I
in the
mean,
park, and they're not
Yeah, but-
reserving it, you're not reserving it, you're just going out to use
yeah,
it.
that's their.
You're not gonna stop it.
So I
Yeah,
think
but the way
this is,
the way I've read this though, these people would have to get the insurance, name the city of Sunbury on that insurance.
No, I think it's
pay
just
the
for
fees.
for public, this is public attendance events.
Where does that say public attendance?
It doesn't. So we can add public attendance in there, but it's implied in the types of events that it's using
But
as an
or
example.
law shouldn't be applied.
So
I'd
we,
like to.
so, okay. Yeah, so I think there's too many fine lines, because now, because we have a lot of businesses in the city that run events in parks. I mean, I've done it multiple times too. Am I paying a fee to run a public event that I think benefits the city, that I'm not really making money on directly, but probably indirectly because of the branding side of it? But there's plenty of events that are held like that by businesses all over the city. Where, again, where do we hire an event manager and taxpayers go to someone to run our own events as a city, instead of just letting other people run the events themselves?
But going off the promoter, but at that point, we're making, I mean, I'm not talking about the small ones like that, I'm not talking about that, but the promoter's gonna promote the big stuff, we're gonna make thousands and thousands of dollars, not someone's gonna have a birthday party in the park, it's gonna cost us a half an hour of time to empty the trash cans.
I'm not talking about that, but I'll use me specifically. So I've done concerts in the park, that I've done as my business, I've done a bunch of different things that are open to the public events. Anyone can go, I'm not making money on them, but my name's on them.
I mean,
And other businesses have all done the same kind of thing.
I mean, at that point in time, if it's gonna cost the city man hours and time and whatever, I think they should be charged because it's costing us time to do that out of our ordinary day. If we had to put up trash cans or tables or barriers, that's costing us time to do that. And I think that's only, I mean, that should be a fair across the board. If you need X, Y, and Z, you should get charged X, Y, and Z for it.
Currently, we don't get charged for any of the garbage we take to the dump, right? So the city's not being charged for the garbage that we're collecting.
Well,
Man hours of
Wait,
additional-
man. It's
It's
man
man hours
hours.
that you would have done anyways to collect the garbage down there.
yes and no, like if you do something down by the river, it's not like the river's getting heavily traveled that you gotta check the garbage
And
can.
the thing about it is that it's in there, it does say you can petition to have your fees exonerated.
Sure.
So,
If it's,
so that would be in the application that here are our standardized fees. And you come in, you ask for exoneration from the fees, and then we have a council meeting every 2 weeks. Rick can bring it up from Treasury and say, there's $22 or $122 in fees for that. Do we want to charge them or not? It ends up being you guys to figure
and
that
if
out.
it's someone's like, I wanna have a breast cancer awareness fundraiser, donate the funds to whatever, obviously. Yeah,
Yeah.
obviously that, but it's just like, I wanna have a concert that's gonna have vendors, whatever. I'm gonna make a couple bucks on the side and have, I'm not putting your business, but like advertise my business on the city's dollar in a sense. I think,
So we just, I don't know, maybe
Would you like for me to schedule a work session when Joel can be here as
yeah,
well?
do that.
And then you can kind of talk out some of these details that you're getting, you're kind of hung up on.
Yeah,
I talked to Carl one time, he talked about getting a trailer, like an event trailer, and having all the stuff in there pre-made, that if you wanted to use the trailer, you go, and everything that you need for your event is there. So it's saving city time, you're still gonna have the trash pickup, you're gonna fill out the things. But to me, when we're looking for things for people to do, like that's, yes, yeah, some people might be making money off it, but it's also residents that are having fun going to those events, or, you know.
But I'd rather, I mean, I'm not arguing, I'd rather have the city make money on the events rather than us just costing money, like we don't, all the city events other than New Year's Eve, we don't make money on. It's like, if we wanna have bigger events that have money for the 250 and other things, we gotta bring money in to do it, else we're not gonna have, it's always, we're always gonna rely on, well, hopefully some organization does it, or else we're never gonna have the stuff to do. Or if we have an idea, we wanna do this or that and the other, we have money to do that. And that's just my opinion, if we're not trying to make money to have these events,
Let's do it in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Set something with Jack, and we can play the what is, this,
Yeah.
that, what is, this, that.
I do think that we need to have a process, so I'll say that.
Yeah.
I agree that there needs to be a simple process for it, and everyone knows exactly what it is,
All right, so I make a motion to table this until and have a work session scheduled.
Eister,
Yes.
Karlovich,
Yes.
Reichner,
Yes,
Reis,
yes.
Brosious.
yes.
PD construction project.
I'm just bringing this up for the council to actually vote or take action on. I know it was mentioned before about establishing a police department, a construction project committee, that they would provide oversight for the process and see the project through to completion. I put up there suggested members, that is just absolutely open to your discussion, your preference. But so for you to discuss and determine, one, if you'd like to establish one, and two, who do you want on it, and then we can make that happen.
And this is just to follow through with the updates of the construction to bring it to council, right?
Right, as.
Yeah, I think it also needs to be done because like, so when we're meeting with the architect and stuff like that, so we have, I can call, let's say Jimmy, because he's gonna have to be on the committee in charge of parks and the public property. That way, we go together and we're kind of on the same page, so we kind of have somebody to report to the council, me to report on the stuff inside the building itself, and the city administrator who's doing some of that stuff. I kind of thought about either like somebody from finance, because they'll be handling all the money part of it. So just a small group, just to kind of oversee the project as it's going through. I think we need to have something like that.
I would say, I think that looks good, and maybe add Kevin to it, just.
We could
finance
finance this and nice to have somebody finance.
John, I think it should be somebody from some business person or something from the public. When we did the building selection, we had some people
It
from
was
the
a lot of
public.
help, true. Yeah, that was a good help having someone from the public. What sector do you think?
Well, we already got the engineer and the design. Insurance? I don't know,
Maybe it was a lot of help the first time around.
Donnie Lehman was very good.
But he's also coming from a police officer perspective. You want somebody more from a community perspective, as a business owner or a resident who has an interest in.
We would put it out there, see if anyone wants to do it.
Volunteer.
Yeah, volunteer. I agree with that, a resident representative, and then the list there plus Kevin.
Steve, do you wanna be on it just for the outside purpose of maintaining like a parking lot, a walkway for, paving or maintenance, general maintenance down the road, plowing of snow and stuff like that as well.
I don't know if it's necessary, but if you guys want me to, I can.
I was just throwing it out, I didn't know what for your purpose.
I think if this committee, whatever it is should be the primary things we need for this, for the building, which would be, he's the head of the parks and buildings. Somebody from finance, police station, the chief of police, mayor, but I don't know that you need anybody other than that, except for somebody from the community.
I think you bring Steve into a meeting or two and say, hey.
If we need him, we can bring him.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, that's
fine.
I think having too many people, because now this
Yeah.
is
Right.
continuing to grow.
I mean, the only thing I have is we discussed, we're gonna put the impound lot down in my lot. I'm gonna have the line.
That actually has to do with accreditation, that's really not more for the building stuff, that's.
Yeah,
more
so
for-
I mean,
Okay.
it's related to that, you know what I
Yeah.
mean, as far as
Josh,
painting
Chris.
lines or maintenance.
So bring Steve in for the park lots and we
No, that's fine.
just laid out properly for the plow and the snow. So
Okay.
So I think, that group, Kevin and public.
well, obviously, I don't know why you cut Rick out because he's head of finance.
Well, the mayor's the head of the police department, I think the mayor has to be on that.
No, I meant for the finance.
So then you can't have 3 council members.
Oh,
I think he
I'm
said,
sorry, that is why I put that in.
I agree with you, that's why I said Kevin now.
Either Kevin the controller, I don't care, but I still think we need somebody from the community.
I agree with you, yeah, I agree with that.
just Kevin there.
So that group, Kevin and.
Someone from
So we-
Wait, so we want the police chief and the.
I don't think you need.
I don't think we need another officer.
No.
And if you want to bring Donnie Lehman in because of his knowledge of not just of the police aspect of it, but the building aspect of it, and he would seem very interested before.
Well, just open it to the public member, a community member, and see who shows it, right?
Yeah.
We need to vote, that's
And
a committee. You just-
The reason I put police officer on there, just in previous life, we always had somebody who actually worked in that department be on the team. Completely up to you, but that's the reason.
They're gonna be involved here regardless, I already have 3 or 4 of them
Okay.
that are constantly always involved in something, so, I mean, it's gonna be, it's a, what do you wanna call it, it's a committee, but there's also gonna be other people that are gonna be involved in the long run anyway, so.
All right,
So we want the chief, the mayor, Councilman Eister for the Parks and Rec, Kevin for the treasurer, a member of the public, and city administrator, correct?
I think that's plenty.
Right, so,
We have to vote on that, because it's just a committee being formed.
That's all, I don't think you have to go, just.
to form a committee. We don't know the other committee.
Make the motion. let's
Yeah.
just-
All right, make a motion to form this PD construction project committee consisting of the chief, mayor, Councilman Eister, the treasurer, city administrator, and a member of the public, to be determined at the next council meeting.
Jim second.
Reichner,
Yes.
Reis,
Peace.
Brosious,
Yes.
Eister, Karlovich.
Yes. All right, Councilman Brosious.
The annual traffic signal maintenance agreement, Steve and I went over it, everything is good to go on it. Does anybody have any questions before I put it in the form of motion?
A quick note on that, the reason why that contract came about, I talked with Toby, the owner of Trough. They never did a contract with any of the municipalities and they got burned. So they put a contract out this year. It was always just an understanding between us that they would take care of the mechanical side, we would take care of the cleaning side, and they would be they'd invoice it and be taken care of, but since they got burned, they want to put a contract in. And honestly, they didn't warn anybody about it. One of the secretaries in there just sent it. So that's why we were a little bit. uneasy.
The only thing that's not on here is how long this is good for. Is it open-ended, or is it?
It doesn't state when it expires.
I think the contract is a 3-year contract.
How many?
A 3-year contract, I believe. I don't have the contract in front of me, but I believe it was 3 years. It was on.
No, there's.
Can I say something quick? So when the original contract was back, I have the original contract in my office, and they told me when I called them is that they never sent out a yearly thing to renew, so it is a yearly renewal. That's
That's
kind
kind
of
of what I was doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 3.
Okay, so it's just, but it renews automatically if we don't do anything?
They're gonna continue to send it out here. That's what the office leader told
So
me.
this is for 2021. Voting on it?
Yeah. Questions, anyone? All right, put in form a motion to accept this agreement for the annual traffic maintenance agreement.
Brosious,
Yes.
Eister,
Yes.
Karlovich,
Yes.
Reichner,
Yes,
Reis.
Yeah.
Military buyback pension plan. From the last meeting, has been looked into regarding, questions that were raised.
Here's the questions I have. I already talked to Joel. Joel actually called me because he heard I had some questions. I've been doing some reading. First of all, one of my questions were, was he ever in a pension fund before? At another department? I don't know.
I don't think so.
Okay, but we don't know. Joel asked me, I said, I don't know. Questions I have run into is also, I was told that there was an option that we did, the city could determine if he could buy 5 years back, 2 years, 3 years, whatever. And I haven't verified that, and Joel isn't sure about that. The next thing is, he can buy his time, according to the third class city code, if I understand it correctly, from Joel, anytime, he can wait till he's ready to retire and buy his time. Third class city. Now, I didn't see it, but Joel and I talked briefly this evening for the meeting. Then also, under PMRS though, there's a section in there that says they must be employed 5 years with the municipality, but I'm not sure if that holds true under the third class city code. Of course, he doesn't have the 5 years in yet.
But that has nothing to do with our pension plan.
True, but
It's
I
not-
didn't know if that was.
I read that, and there's nothing in there that says you have to be here 5 years for that.
Okay, I didn't know that was.
Yeah, that's not a
state law or
stipulation,
not.
no.
PMRS, that's in there. And then, of course, and then also the calculations. You pay 5% of the gross at the present time, plus the interest for that time period.
On PMRS,
I'm told all plans.
Joel's not here to answer
No,
those
no,
questions.
and I thought he was gonna be,
And that makes
Joel
sense.
said you could call him if you wanted to, but if you want to table this, that's fine, but,
I like the table for some reason, there's too many questions here.
Well, we've done it, just so you know, you've done it in the past, so you know. Just wanna make
We're
sure.
going to do it.
I know, I'm just saying, it's been done in the past, I wanna make sure, and we gotta wait for Joel, so he can really get
I
the
don't like
detail.
the idea of just
You
picking
know,
random
no, wait,
years
what
and
was done, what was done in the past?
The guys that bought military time back.
Oh, yeah, but it wasn't out of compliance, right? As far as the 90-day goes, when they bought it back.
I don't think there really was at that time, I
There
think we
wasn't
just,
anything.
there was no 90-day thing.
What he was saying, I don't know about third class city, but I do know with the state, that you can go, you can put your retirement notice in and say, I want to buy back my military time and put it on payments, make one payment out of your final pay of whatever the payments are, and then retire, and then they'll deduct the rest out of your retirement.
He's nowhere near ready to retire.
So, but what I'm saying, but that's an option the state has, and you also can buy back from 1 to 5 years, is whatever you decide you want to buy
But
back.
Chris, I think when we're done here, we're gonna have the third class city law, have it all spelled out for the future.
Yeah, I think it's better to have Joel here, because I mean, I don't think.
because that's in conflict with what it says in the pension plan.
Was that?
The pension plan itself spells out the military buyback program.
Yeah,
So it may be different from what's in third class city code, but I don't know if the two have to be the same or not. So
which
you're
one?
right, it is a.
Right, that's what you guys voted on in 2009.
Jim
You
has,
guys voted on that in 2009.
he has been in the office all week long, and Dave Killick emailed that it has to be in compliance with third city code, and then I emailed Joel, asking him to look that up and see,
we just got one.
so.
So we might have voted
Just wait.
something that doesn't conform with third class city code, which is illegal.
We got ways.
You're the one that brought it up.
You voted on it. I don't want to be, I wasn't anything.
Make a motion to table this until the next, council meeting.
So he is working on it. Eister,
Yes.
Karlovich.
Yes.
Reichner,
Yes,
Reis.
Yes.
Brosious.
Yes.
It's not gonna make much of a difference if you wait another meeting or two. It's not gonna really make a difference. So
I don't want-
it's okay. We just want to make sure we have the right answers. That's all.
Yeah, I just want to make sure he understands it's not something about him.
No, no,
He's want to make sure he get it right.
Yeah,
Because
good
apparently you told us wrong last time.
No,
All right, so the planning commission,
I don't think so.
No,
Uh,
no, you didn't.
This is the second reading for bill number 2020-15, the planning commission. This is the bill that officially creates the planning commission, designates their appointment term and vacancies. The sitting planning commission requests a continuation of their sitting members in their current terms, should the council adopt this or new ordinance. It establishes their powers and duties in it, and it was reviewed and supported by the current planning commission.
Make that motion.
Second.
Reis,
Yes.
Brosious,
Yes.
Eister,
Yes.
Karlovich,
yes,
Reichner.
Yes.
Should we have one of these for every board and commission that we have in the city, like an actual ordinance that puts what they are and what their terms are and all that, or is it just understood? Like Harv and all those other ones? I don't know, all of them that we
They're
have.
hard, but
Probably not.
Should we do that though for all of them? Just because it's good to have this. We should probably have terms for
At least it's defined.
Exactly, yeah, so,
make sure you know what their authority is and where it stops.
exactly, yeah, what they can and can't do.
I
We
don't
should do that for
know,
everyone.
even the tree commission is, so I don't know.
We do.
Yeah, we just did one.
Yeah, we have that
I
one.
should remember it, I'm sorry.
You were not. All right, let's go on to the income tax ordinance.
Okay. So there's a second reading for this bill on the earned income tax article of chapter 151 taxation. This revision was drafted based on the recommendations from the editorial and legal review of the city code from general code, our contractor. It defines the necessary terms, including a tax collection committee and tax collection district. This is not the tax levying ordinance, it's just the basis for assessing the tax.
Make that motion. Pass that.
Karlovich,
Yes,
Reichner,
Yes.
Reis,
Yes.
Brosious,
Yes.
Eister.
Yes. Mr. Mayor, before we get to discussion, two items. Jody, on the new permits for landlords in the city, there's a section there that I'll be required to initial verifying. I realize everything here is accurate and so forth, and if I falsify, there's a penalty and so forth. Let's go back to the contractor's license. Remember, we were discussing penalties. First time working without a permit, there was a warning. That I think if I, as a landlord, have to be responsible by a signature, which I should be, there's no reason when the contractor gets his license, he also signs it, just like I did with my permit, that he's responsible and he's held accountable the first time around. Why would he get a warning and I don't get a warning?
So you're
Good
saying,
question, because we can fix it now because the building construction ordinance is in progress.
Because I believe I should sign and be responsible. I believe in that. And I also believe that he should be held responsible.
you're saying they should get a warning system, it should be,
If I don't, he doesn't.
because right, that is how it is set up, that if you're in violation as a landlord, it's immediate citation.
It's sad, and I believe that's accurate.
Yeah.
I believe in that.
so then why don't we allow the same wording system for the landlord?
I am.
That's what he's asking for. is
I
to-
do.
Oh, I thought you just wanted the contractors just to have that one signature. Take away
No,
the
the
wording.
landlords have that now based on what we're putting in. That's what the system set up, where there's no, the penalties is immediate, like, if we just went over this, if they didn't fill out their form properly and their permit was to expire, they would all fees right away, they don't get a
Right,
a
so
warning for not signing it.
they have all these periods to submit their housing permit renewal, is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then, if by November 1st, in this current year, the term is, they haven't taken care of it, then they can be issued a citation, but they do get, we just talked about it with in the training we had with the code department, was that we would run a list the 1st of October. 1st of October,
Oh, yeah,
to notify them that you still haven't paid, and if you don't pay by the end of the month, that you would get a citation, so that would be like an internal
That's their warning.
courtesy. Yeah.
That changes things. I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, that would just, we just had a meeting to talk about that Friday,
Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
like, we're trying to help where we can, but we can't go overboard. But it's something to look at to see if
Oh,
we're
no.
making too lenient on the contractor side.
But here again, you're gonna give us a warning, then give them a warning.
Yeah.
Some type of a warning.
Yeah, it would be a one warning But then there's not one again, what I gather, because then it's the end of the year comes, and you still haven't paid, then that's when it goes to magistrate. At that point, there's no
Right.
warning about that, it's drop magistrate. If you don't
And
pay.
also with the contractor's license, what we changed it to in this new draft was that it's not an annual, like, good from January to December, and they have to renew it by the January of that year, but more, it's good, valid for a year from the time that they're issued their contractor license.
Yes.
So say they're not gonna be doing any work in Sunbury, they don't have to come in and get their new contract license until they have cause to do so.
That's true.
And we're gonna do a meeting, what we say in November, we haven't picked the date yet, for landlords and things like that too. And we can probably incorporate contractors, just to basically go over what the new process is, what you fill out, and do a public meeting on all that kind of stuff too. Before the end of the year.
Sounds good to me. One other thing. On Front Street, shouldn't we look at the gazebo has been redone, not the gazebo itself, it's been flower beds. Jody here made the arrangements and took care of the cost with Boys Landscaping, it was beautiful. We're in the process, the steps need redone yet, and of course, we're going to restain the gazebo itself. But the flower beds, Jody, thank you, and it was very nice. I'm looking forward to the next spring when it starts blooming. Mr. Mayor, I'm done.
All right. All right, discussion item.
Kevin?
All right, so I'd like us to start discussing about owner-occupied residential property incentives to offer them to pull in more actual homeownership in the city itself, since we're over 60% actual rental. When I've talked to a lot of people and asked them, why aren't you buying your home here in the city, your first home here in the city? Most of the time it's because most of your properties don't have off-street parking. So I've been thinking about this idea for quite some time, talking to people within the community, what they would think about the idea. So if you're a live-in homeowner, a single-family residence itself, non-rental units or tenants, it's just single-family rental units. You have a valid vehicle registration, you don't have any current off-street parking, and you're unable to create off-street parking at your property. I think we should look into offering some kind of a parking permit incentive for the neighbors, like street parking stall near the home or municipal parking lot, kind of similar to what we're already doing with municipal lots renting the spaces. And we're also allowing businesses on Market Street now to get parking spaces off of Market Street.
But there is no restriction for owner occupied as far as off-street parking. If I'm buying a house and it's owner occupied, I don't have no off-street restriction.
No, this is to give them an incentive. If you want to buy your house here, you don't really have to worry about your parking issues for not having parking at your property, because you can apply for a permit to have that parking stall for your house.
So what happens
Wait a
if?
second.
Oh, go ahead.
When you start designated, I think it's every landlord here could take it.
No, it would have to be a live-in homeowner.
Okay, I want my parking spot in my house.
Okay, like,
And how many do you get?
what?
Well, then, with this, I'm a family, I have two, not
It's
me
an
personally,
it's an
but,
incentive, one parking stall, it's just an idea.
but no, I'm
saying
not,
let's do this, it's an idea to start talking about offering some type of incentives, whether it's working with the county and the school district and our treasurer's office to bring in some kind of tax incentive. You buy your home here in the city of Sunbury, we're offering you a tax incentive for the first 5 years of you owning that home.
As a planning committee right now, I just sent through one in my neighborhood that gave rental permits to homes with no off-street parking. So the planning committee is not even following that guideline whatsoever with parking off-street. I mean, they're just granting the rental properties left and right. So what do they gain by buying the house? They can rent, knowing they're gonna park on the streets, they don't need off-street parking. I mean, we had a meeting a couple months ago in my neighborhood, and everybody was there fighting it, and the planning committee just want to see it. Now, if you look at the rentals, what's going on in the city, I mean, we're getting 5, 6 a week. That new rental agreements coming through, and they're just making rentals left and right. The planning committee has to stop that. And with the off-street parking or not, Mr. Hare, it's out of control.
I know Steve's been working with residents that have the opportunity to make all street parking at the rear. Remember, we just discussed it the other day.
Yep.
Because any place to make an extra stall, you get them all on the alley side now. Like Steve had a good point. Your situation is different up there in your business. But when people, nobody parks out back anymore, everyone's parked in front of the house. If you can make stalls in their backyards, a lot of streets we can do that, which Steve is doing, which helps out.
That's what a lot of the, especially on the health section, that's what a lot of the properties are.
Yes.
Parking in the back.
Well, and the other thing is, if you designate a parking stall for just one person, that person may be at work for 8 hours, nobody can park there.
Yeah.
That person maybe go away for a week on vacation, nobody can park there. You're taking away, that's the beauty of having public parking is it's first come, first served, and everybody gets an equal opportunity. The only people who don't are the people who apply for the
Yeah,
handicap
it's just an
programs.
idea, some
Is
type of
there-
an incentive to get
No,
more homeownership.
We definitely need incentives, but I just don't know if that's
Kevin,
the
have
right.
you ever heard of any kind of tax incentive to, through, and I don't know if other municipalities have ever done it, through homeownership, even if it's not necessarily just, hey, you're a homeowner, here's your tax incentive, but if you're a homeowner looking to build off-street parking, potentially, maybe there's a tax incentive that you could apply towards that. Kind of like how
It's
there's
all
a
assessments on the tax of the property. So it has nothing to do with that. So really, there's no incentive on it because the county says that assessment.
Well,
And then your assessment is higher.
This would almost be like a rebate, I guess, in the taxes at that point, then, what you have to think about it, right? You're gonna do it the other way.
There was a program through the county. I'm not sure if the state stopped it or the county stopped it. Okay, first time home buyers. I don't know if it's still out there or
We
not.
had a tax credit, right?
Well, the county paid, I think, $2,500 back in those days for the down, okay? You had to take, and of course, had the credit application to purchase it. There was a list of things you had to accomplish. And then through the county, through the state, I think it was fairly funded. Then they gave you so much for the down. I think it covered, I'm guessing, that legal fees, but it broke everything down for first-time home buyers, which were fine. I'm not sure. I don't think the county has it anymore. It's something we can.
That's the easiest way to go about doing that, Jeff, right there, the time itself.
Yeah, and I tell you, the county, they had them all over, because I was involved in the program. There's a lot of young people, not every one of them was successful, there were some failures. But,
And the second was talking to Linda about saying.
but first, he'd still see it was still out there, and then go back to the county, ask them to apply for it. Probably most likely to see the cog run the program.
That's a two birds with one stone, because then you're decreasing your population's age and you're getting new homeowners.
And most everybody was buying was younger people.
Well, yeah, that's what your assumption.
That's what we're looking for.
FHA loans are all. directed. What were you gonna say, Judy?
I was gonna say we talked about the LERTA.
Yes, for the business side.
For the business side, is there a similar thing you do for residents as far as they make an improvement to their property, such as add a garage in the back? They get reassessed a higher value. What if there was an offset that didn't, kicked in only little by little over 5 years? Like the first year you pay 20% of the assessed, newly assessed value, and then the next year is 40, 60, 80, and then by the end of 5 years, then you're fully paying the increase in
would work,
value.
I think that would work for some, but we gotta get the county on board to even consider.
Because they're the major portion of that money,
Yeah,
not the city
cool.
portion.
Well, the lowest
I built my
portion,
partially, mine was assessed right away as it went up. Immediately. That's just how you do the same thing.
Oh, yeah, put a garage
You'll
right
get
on
assessed
there.
immediately as soon as you build it.
Yeah,
so definitely something to continue, but I think you wanna continue that conversation, that's something you wanna look into.
No, I just wanted to open the discussion.
And I think-
Well, it does need to drive it forward, so it can't be just discussed here and it'll stop, so if it's something you're serious.
I mean, if you're looking for more incentives, taxes is one thing, that's eventually gonna end. You gotta have things for people to do in the town. And you gotta, I'm gonna get flack for this, but you gotta change reputation in this town. I'm not saying people say not very nice things about suburbs. Now, they're not true, I'm gonna put that out there, but until you change that reputation, no one's gonna wanna come here that's a younger person. They're gonna go to these other
So how do you do
marketing.
getting people in here to see
that?
these.
Allow businesses to hold events that people can go to.
Maybe So
Making money.
that's part of your calculus. That's part of your calculus for making that decision. So you have it in an ordinance, maybe that fees may be assessed. But then you as a council say, you know what, we're gonna waive those fees because we want people to do events. So that makes you look really good.
Yeah.
Right, we could, because there is a cost to the city for supporting them, but we, as a city, are gonna donate those services in order to support them and encourage it, so there's a way to market it that looks good.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
And there's a perception of the city that's there, but
And not just for the city, I mean, I'm gonna get flack for this too, but same thing with the school district.
Yeah.
Like, some people say the same things, I see all the time with subs, they're like, we heard terrible things, but till we actually got in here, like, wow, this is really great here. So you gotta change that as a whole entire, it's not just
But
something.
one of the main ways, and what Kurt's trying to say, one of the main ways to do that is to increase your homeownership. Have people have pride in the property, not to say that renters don't, but.
Well, a lot of renters don't because they don't own it.
Exactly, there's a difference of when you own your property versus when you rent.
And then, I mean, but the thing is, there's only so many properties for sale for homeownership. Like, you gotta have to, I wanna say, take
Well-
out the renter ownership, but you gotta really put, no, I'm gonna get back this again, but you gotta put the harpoon to them if they're not doing what they're supposed to do, keeping up with their properties. And I'm not,
Well, you can work with
oh, yeah, so
the redevelopment authority.
Yeah.
So you can put conditions on sales of those properties that we took by eminent domain, in that maybe you can put a condition that they can't be a rental.
oh, yeah,
That it's intended to be sold to someone who's gonna own and occupy it
Yeah.
and fix it up. And then the other thing is I'm looking through the records downstairs in the file cabinets. There was a first time home buyers program, but I don't remember if that was part of a CDBG.
Through the home program, because I remember that was on still when I started, but it was all through the home program, it was a special grant that you get through that.
This was different.
We had a.
It was
It's
different.
still going on here now. Is it- it's still about 4 years now.
Oh, yeah.
No, that's.
Right.
Well, ours is in
Certificate.
pairs, and the county had first time home buyers.
There's certain criteria you have to meet, you have to tax everything, one time, things like that.
All right, Francis, we got.
There's two things with that. One, is you're with the parking spot, I know in Smoker, they actually do have that. It is there. It's my, where Judge Gambick's office is across the street, the whole walk going up. Is for the people in this one. I don't know how they do it or what they do, but that's. The second part of it is, you guys passed last year, or not last year, when Dave was here, the ordinance about convicted drug users in the houses. How many of those people have been removed from somebody? Or has it even been checked?
I don't know about that, but.
We don't get that information.
We don't
Francis.
quite-
You do, we do.
They have to be convicted of a felony.
Correct.
They can't just be charged.
Correct.
Linda just asked us about that on.
I thought that was done. I thought they
They
did
must have
that.
said it was being followed, but I don't. know
Okay,
if
it's
that
still
happened.
in the ordinance. I do not have 100% on how they are enforcing it. So are we doing background checks on the tenant list?
No, we're not doing that.
So, yeah, I don't
The
know.
reason I say that, and you'll probably agree, is you probably pick out 10 people that are in the city in apartments that have been convicted.
We have to read what the ordinance says. Does it say,
So
if
you'll
you're
be-
already here prior to that and you had that, they weren't kicking you out of the city at that one. were
No, it
they?
was new, it was all like new convictions.
Yes.
Yeah.
You could own the house, but you can't be a tenant.
Yeah.
Correct. From the
Well,
day,
that's a
from the-
cooperation that needs to be
it's-
formed between the police.
It was new convictions from the day it was passed.
Yes.
From then on, yes.
The other thing, we were informed by probation officers too, state probation officers. Because we had a connection with a guy out of Williamsport that would let us know if there was a convicted felon moving, or looking to move in.
That's something we work with police department on. You guys know something, we figure it out. And, I mean, it's really the only way that, because I don't think we can.
See, most of the time when we file the charges, that's the last time we see it.
Yeah.
It goes to court, and then the court doesn't give us dispositions anyway, you gotta look them up.
It takes 2 years if it's not
Yeah.
paid down.
Mayor, do you want to establish a task force of some kind that might involve somebody from the redevelopment authority, from the planning commission? I don't know who else you might,
This is, to me, this is a planning commission task. This is what the planning commission, with that ordinance that we just passed, this is what they should be doing, because their job is to go by the strategic plan, right?
but we want to make sure they understand the council's intent. And that if the mayor, if the council wants to have incentivize home ownership, then, and that you want to come up with techniques, strategies to do that, then they would, I don't think it's just them.
think Mr. Rhodes should be here tonight. You can talk to him about some of the meetings. Because I think they're off track big time.
You think so?
Yeah, I think so. Especially with the rental properties. You know, when you look at it, this is what we said back years ago when I was on the code office and we sat down and when you look at your map of rental property versus home ownership, and when you go over 50% of more rental properties, you're going the wrong direction in the city. And I think right now the city might be at 56, 57% rental properties compared to our 43 of ownership. We're going the wrong direction. And that's the bottom line why the problems are happening in the city. Is because the rentals are going crazy and they're just giving rentals out like they're left and right because they set precedents on a lot of issues and how can they fight back on it now?
Another side of that is absentee ownership. Well, your owners might be from New Jersey. And they have.
Mr. Mayor, you gotta talk to Mike Rose and get perspective on this planning committee with how it's been run lately. I'm telling you, it's what they're doing with some of the rentals. You know this for a fact because I know that. I'm not saying shut down complete rentals, but we set guidelines years ago to follow. They're now following them guidelines. You know what
What I'm getting at though, we're gonna take a really strict hammer on the parking issue. And we ought to make aware, before you buy that property, you better check and verify if you can get a parking permit for it. Because it's awful, a guy buys a property, dumps major dollars into it with the idea of rehabbing and renting it, and now he's told, no, you can't rent it. Okay, you have to sell it. So
I think there's also the opposite side of it, that when we do have so many rentals, those people aren't just gonna up and move away immediately. So it's fostering community pride amongst those people as well. That has to be part of the conversation rather than just, hey, we just have to find homeowners because the people, I mean, some of them are in situations they have to rent. They can't afford to buy the home, but they chose to live here. So I think you have to protect both sides. And
But home ownership is investment in the city itself. That's how I look at
the renters pay taxes too, right?
it. So, yes.
True. They're supposed to be paying
When
taxes.
we get 2,000 or 1,500 back, first off basic taxes that we can't track down. We get a box full every year that nobody knows where they moved to or how they moved.
Are you the treasurer's office across the record seeing all the tenant lists?
We try to track down as soon as a renter comes in, they fill out the paperwork that Jim does, puts his name, ID, we send a bill out. And the following years come, we send a bill out to the same people when they're gone, and then we don't track them, they move. Some people don't hand that information in, or they don't say who's moving in when somebody else moves out.
Right, so we're working on the tenant information list. We worked on that on last Friday too. Getting that information so that we know when somebody turns 18, et cetera. So, I forgot what I was gonna say, never mind.
A lot of the things that we've passed over the last year, I think are gonna really help the perception of the city, what we can do, the commercial property ordinance, how we can get in and do a lot of that stuff, the rental property ordinance, the quality of life ticketing stuff that we passed is gonna help because you're not gonna be able to have the high grass anymore. Like, I think there's a lot of things that we're doing. It's just so new that we got, this is the first step, we're never gonna be able to do anything.
And it's gonna take time, it's not gonna happen next year, it's gonna take multiple years to get, see the programs.
Mr. Mayor, back to the parking, that is an issue. And I think if we can take every year, come up with another 50 or 100 parking stalls at the rear of the property, it's going to help us over the long run. Yeah, I know Steve's working on that.
All right. Councilman Brosious, any comment?
Doing research with Jolene to create that RFP, and then once I get that created, I'll send that out to you guys to look over, we can discuss it and go from there. I just want you to know, I didn't know if anyone had any questions on it, where it was at, I just want to keep you in the loop of what's going on there. So just that question. And then with the South Street Bridge, I've been talking to Jim and Steve about getting Lee to come up, look at it, give his thoughts, what can be done, what can't be done about, and the architectural design, all that good stuff. Councilman, unless you want to add anything to that, because we've been talking with Lee.
I know we've been discussing it, and of course, we discussed it.
Yeah.
Refurbishing or replacing it depends what long forecast is for that parcel over there, what type of, if you're gonna make a campsite now, you gotta get 30, 40-foot campers going across. And I think the bridge, it can hold it. You mentioned, Steve, on the heights, I don't know that. Mr. Buck, of course, brought up about the historical
That's
value.
being historical.
Well, you really watch yourself. You mentioned historical, once you deem that, You're in another ballgame there.
Pigeonhole yourself. You don't
Basically,
want
a
to.
million different regions.
Yeah.
I'm going around it.
Just like talking about a covered bridge, but anyhow, yes, we are working on it. And we'll go from there. That's why Mr. Rose is this evening when he was speaking. And when Steve and I were speaking, when you make a list of what the usage can be, and more municipalities can join in on it, the funding sources become more available. So if he has some good ideas to put over there, so that's where he can be a key factor in this.
Sounds good. Ms. Soccer.
I just wanted to, we just kind of touched on it, last Friday, we had some training with the code administration office, we were going over the housing permit processes in the new residential rental property ordinance. So there's a lot of new ordinances, like Councilman Reis was mentioning, that we put in place in order to improve the conditions in Sunbury. But it's gonna take some training, it's gonna take some rolling out some of these things like the commercial property, inspections. We wanna do it in a thoughtful, intentional way. Anyway, we need to do the training with the code office. We're gonna close the office every Friday morning until 11 a.m. starting October 23rd. So we'll advertise this, let people know that, we'll just have to wait till 11 a.m. to come in for their weekend, building permits. And that'll give the code office a chance to get some training, work out some processes, change up some forms, make everything kind of standardized as best we can, so that by the first of the year, these new ordinances will be ready to be enforced.
I think you ought to put a big sign, because I know I don't look at Facebook and that stuff on the webpage. For us, people that.
You antiques.
And Chief,
We'll
all
put
all
smoke
these new
signals up here.
ordinances that, we've been passing, you think the PD's aspect of the ordinance, you've been reviewing them with the officers?
Yeah, a lot of them, there's not a lot of big changes, just some small minor things that, once they come out.
Process awareness of how
Yeah.
to do things, make it easier to find violations.
Joe, did you announce?
The Sunbury Fire Police Reverse Halloween Parade is October 15th, starting at 7 p.m. Art and Heritage Committee will be meeting November 5th, and after that, I will give you an update on what we have so far planned and are looking to plan. And then the next City Council meeting will be October 26th, starting at 6:15 p.m. Council, city officials, presenters, and press may attend in person at the City Hall. The public attendance is by Zoom or Facebook Live, continuing that.
Question on the reverse, Halloween parade now. That location was moved again.
It's on Walnut Street.
Someone told me it was moved up to the. Fighters, yeah.
No, there was a trunk or treat this week that was in the pool at the Youth and Community Center parking lot. That was on Saturday.
I'm almost positive that,
The last I heard from them, it was still down at the high school area.
I heard they were charging what, $25 a vendor or something like that, and that's where I told some of the backlash was from. And I thought it came from, Collier, but, I'll talk to him, I'll get hold of him.
Is there any public comments at this time?
I have a couple.
By Facebook previously that Ms. Sabrina Parker asked about what are the rules for four-wheelers within the city limits. I think they're probably referring to that Shamokin just allows some four-wheelers on some streets.
You want Chief?
The mayor we talked about this last night. It's, we pulled up here really quick. Maybe. It's under the vehicle code. It's prohibited within city limits. ATVs, four-wheelers, stuff like that. The municipality has to change the rules on that. That's basically what Shamokin did. Shamokin is allowing certain times, I think during the week or the year, whatever, to do that.
They have direct access straight from AOA to drive right onto the street.
Correct, but
Otherwise, they'd have to come here, unload, and then.
Right.
Or talks and bring in a trailer.
That would change the whole thing. I agree.
But that's down, that's not gonna happen.
It's prohibited by law for now.
All right.
We also have Megan Beck has a couple of comments and questions. Go ahead, Megan.
Thanks. I have a quick question. I don't know this has been brought up at council before, but there's a pretty severe sewer smell in the downtown over the past few weeks. I can tell you I've personally smelled it like down the entirety of Chestnut Street, all the way from where the new project started all the way down to actually at True Built Lumber, 6th and Market, 4th and Market, Stroh Alley, and 6th and Arch. And that was just in the past 2 weeks.
Megan, that's because of lack of rain. It's a combined system. If there's no water flushing the lines, you'll have that. It's been like this forever.
Right. I was told that that they were going to put some baffles into the sewer drains, and that should reduce it whenever they're doing the Chestnut Street project.
The baffle will be going at Chestnut at the gut by Chestnut Street Deli. That's the only area it will affect. All the other streets you just mentioned won't affect it at all.
South Street, my street, when it's low like this, you get it back.
Just like that.
So are you're saying there is something that can be done about it?
Just at Chestnut, where the gut is, they're gonna put a baffle there. Because we increased the size of the pipe from, I think it was 18 or 24 to 54. They're gonna put a baffle there, but every place else in the city, like down in Linden Street, I just spelled it today when I was going for lunch. It's still there. It will be there until the system is split. Combined system, you have it.
Until what?
Until the system is totally separated, which I know I won't be around long enough to see it happen.
Okay.
So there's no plan in the work to separate stormwater and
No.
sewer in those areas at the moment.
Right in the downtown, you're saying?
All over.
All over the city.
Okay. Well, I mean, go ahead.
Well, there are some sections, when the hill section areas changed, Chestnut Street was changed, but the long term, the gut has to be converted over. It's a long story. It's easier for me to someday take a map and show you, but some locations, if you look in the catch basin, see a gooseneck in there, that's been converted over, providing there's water in the catch basin to stop the sewer gas. If the water is evaporated, does no good.
Okay. Alrighty. Well, yeah, I just, it's really tough for downtown businesses, you know, especially restaurants whenever we have that going on. So if there's any way we can, you know, if there's any that are specific in the downtown that we can possibly modify in future projects, that'd be a pretty key thing to keep in mind. What was that? I'm sorry.
Nothing.
Okay. The other question I had was if anybody has looked at the parking lot between Burger King and the Market House. I don't know that there's really there's not great handicap accessibility there. And whenever that project was done, there's sort of a sidewalk that kind of comes straight from that parking lot to the back of the Market House entrance, but it's not ramped, and it's a blind spot now that trash area is there for Burger King, and people walk out onto Woodlawn, and it's a blind. They walk out not realizing cars are coming, and cars can't see that people are going to be stepping out onto the street. I actually had a young woman with a baby carriage pop out of there last week in front of me. I wasn't sure, is there anybody that could look into that?
Yes, Megan, we'll take and see the setback of that shed that's been there after they rebuilt Burger King. See if we meet the setback.
And
Yeah, because it's right on the street.
Yeah, and Steve said he'll look into that and get back to you on that.
Okay, all right, I really appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Well,
Is that it?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, well then thank you all for coming out today. This meeting is now adjourned.